Two.
Hi everybody! I'm really looking forward to the story that I'm going to read you today because it is one of my favourites. And I got this idea because we were watching a film with our family the other week and it was Paddington. So I'm going to read you a book about Paddington. Now, it's not the original story that you might have seen in the film because you might know what happens there. You might know that Paddington comes to London and he is found by the Brown family at Paddington train station, and that's where he gets his name from. And he goes and lives with them, and then he has lots of exciting things that happen to him while he's staying with them, and he meets lots of new friends. So in our book today, he's on an adventure in London with one of his new friends, Mr. Gruber. So this is what we're going to read. We're going to read Paddington at the Palace. Now I wonder which palace it might be. I wonder what palace there is in London that he might go to visit. Now, the author of all the Paddington stories is Michael Bond, and this one was illustrated by R.W. Alley. So let's open our book and read our adventure about Paddington at the Palace. One morning, Paddington and Mr. Gruber set out to see the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace. Mr. Gruber took his camera, Paddington took a flag on a stick in case he saw the Queen, and they both sat on the front seat of the bus so that they could see all the places of interest on the way. The bus took them most of the way. Then they had to walk through St. James's Park. It was a lovely sunny morning and there were flowers everywhere. "I think I might pick some for the Queen," said Paddington. "I'm afraid that's against the law," said Mr. Gruber. "This is what is known as Royal Park, and all the flowers belong to the Queen anyway. Besides, it would spoil it for others." "If you like, I'll take a picture for your scrapbook instead." "Fancy having a front garden as big as this," said Paddington. "I wonder if she has to mow the lawn." Mr. Gruber laughed, and then, as they drew nearer to some of the large gates, he pointed towards the roof of the building behind them. "We're in luck, Mr. Brown," he said. "There's a flag flying. That means the Queen is at home." Paddington peered through the railings and waved his own flag several times in case the Queen was watching. "I think I saw someone at one of those windows, Mr. Gruber," he called excitedly. "Do you think it was the Queen?" "Who knows?" said Mr. Gruber. "Oh, I wonder who it was that he saw. I wonder if it's this one. I wonder if it's that person that he thought." Soon afterwards they heard the sound of a band playing. The music got louder and louder, and there was a lot of shouting and the clumping of marching feet. But by then there were so many people, Paddington couldn't see a thing. Oh dear, he's right at the back and can't see. Mr. Gruber wondered whether he ought to suggest holding Paddington up to see, but in the end he bought him a periscope instead. "If you look through the bottom end," he explained, "you can see over the top of people's heads." Paddington tried it out, but all he could see was other people's faces, and he didn't think so much of them. In the end, he tried crawling through the legs of the crowd, but by the time he got to the other side, the band had passed by. "Look," said a small boy, pointing at Paddington. "One of the soldiers has dropped his hat." "It's what they call a busby, dear," said his mother. Paddington jumped to his feet. "I'm not a busby," he cried. "I'm a bear." Gradually the crowd melted away until there were only a few people left. "Oh dear," said Mr. Gruber. "It's all over, and I didn't even get a picture of you with one of the guardsmen." "I didn't even see them," said Paddington sadly. Just then a man in a bowler hat said something to a policeman at the gate and then pointed towards Paddington and Mr. Gruber. The policeman beckoned to them. "I've instructions to invite you inside so that you can take a proper photograph," he called. "You are very honoured." I don't think many people are normally allowed to do that. Paddington felt most important as he and Mr. Gruber followed the policeman across the palace parade ground, and the guard came to attention. "I think," he said as he stood to attention while Mr. Gruber took a photograph, "this guard is so good he doesn't need changing." As they left the palace, Paddington stopped by the gates to wave his flag. "Do you think it was the Queen looking out of the window when we first came?" he asked. "It was either the Queen," said Mr. Gruber, "or it was someone who likes bears very much." And he took one last picture for Paddington's scrapbook. "You must mark the window with a cross when you paste it in, just in case." And there's Paddington's picture for his scrapbook, and it says at the bottom, "Me at the palace." Well, there we go. I wonder if you've ever been to London and visited any of these places. There's some activities today to do with London. There's some to do with where Paddington even came from and one of his favourite foods. Do you remember where he keeps it? Have a good week, children, and I'll see you soon.